In the still breath of dawn, the forest held its ancient peace. A single cry rose from the green, thin, trembling, desperate. There, among wild grass, sat a lost child in a pink jacket. Her cheeks were streaked with dirt, her eyes searching for warmth. No one answered her. Only wind brushed the leaves in reply. But deep in the jungle, something else had heard. A heartbeat larger, slower, older than time itself, stirred. The gorilla lifted his head, nostrils flaring with curiosity. That sound, fragile, human, pierced through his quiet world. He stood, every movement heavy with power and patience. The jungle floor trembled beneath his massive feet. Birds fluttered away, sensing the shift in rhythm. Yet his eyes softened. Holding something almost human, he began to walk toward the cry, pushing aside ferns and mist. Each step echoed with a question older than words. Who would abandon such a small, helpless creature here? The cry grew louder, breaking through vines and silence alike. Sunlight spilled through the trees, guiding his path. He paused once, listening. The sound was close now. And then, through a curtain of green, he saw her, tiny, trembling, alone in a world too big for her. Their eyes met, and in that instant, time stopped. The jungle held its breath. The wild had found the lost, and destiny quietly shifted its course forever. The baby turned, startled by the towering shadow beside her. Her tiny hand clutched a twig, knuckles white with fear. Before her stood the gorilla, vast, dark, impossibly still. But there was no rage in his face, only deep, quiet wonder. He crouched low, lowering himself to her fragile height. The ground creaked softly beneath his weight. For a heartbeat, no one moved, not the birds, not the wind, only those two, a child and a creature meant to fear each other. Yet fear never came. The gorilla's gaze softened, almost protective. His breath was steady, calm, like the earth itself. The baby blinked up at him, eyes wide but curious. A faint smile tugged at her lips. Trust, pure and simple. The air shimmered with something unseen, unspoken. He leaned forward slightly, hand resting near her feet. The caretakers, far away, froze, terrified of what might happen. But the gorilla's fingers brushed the ground gently. He studied her face as though seeing something sacred. The baby reached out, touching his rough knuckle, a tiny hand against an enormous one, life touching life. She giggled. The sound made the forest light again. The gorilla blinked, his chest rising in a deep sigh. A connection formed, fragile, beautiful, and real. From that moment, he was no longer wild. He had become her guardian. Time passed softly as the forest watched their bond unfold. The gorilla shifted closer, still moving with delicate care. He brushed a leaf from her shoulder with his thick fingers. The baby giggled again, pointing at his curious face. He tilted his head, puzzled, yet enchanted. Each motion was slow, deliberate, filled with patience. No predator's intent, only a guardian's calm. He looked around, scanning the trees, the wind, the sky. Every sound made him alert, ready to defend. The baby played with a flower beside his hand. He watched her joy, her innocence, as though remembering. Perhaps once he too had known peace before fear. He placed his hand gently beside her, never too near. She leaned against it, trusting without reason. The caretakers whispered in disbelief behind glass and cameras. This wasn't an animal's rage. It was love unspoken. When a branch fell nearby, he rose instantly, protective. He stood between her and danger, muscles tensed but eyes calm. Then, when silence returned, he sat again, never leaving. The sun began to shift, gold light spilling across their faces. She reached for his fur, soft and thick like warmth itself. He let her, patient, still, utterly human in his gentleness. No one watching could speak. They were witnessing the wild turn pure, and the pure find safety in the wild. Afternoon melted into twilight, and clouds began to gather. The air turned cool, the forest whispering of rain. Still, the gorilla stayed beside the child, motionless. When the first raindrop fell, he raised his arm instinctively. His massive palm hovered above her, shielding her tiny head. The drizzle grew heavier, a steady rhythm across the leaves. He hunched closer, drawing her against his chest for warmth. Steam rose from his fur where raindrops struck. The baby's eyes fluttered. She was growing sleepy. He made a low hum, a lullaby of the jungle itself. She drifted off, cheek resting on his shoulder. Each breath she took seemed to ease his own. He blinked slowly, as if memorizing her face. The forest, drenched and glistening, turned into a cathedral of quiet. He sat there, unmoving, protecting something he did not understand. Every instinct said to walk away, yet he couldn't. Somewhere deep inside, something had changed. This was no longer about territory or instinct. This was love in its rawest, truest form. When lightning flashed far away, he looked up calmly. His eyes caught the reflection of the storm and softened. The rain fell harder, but still he didn't move. The jungle around him blurred into mist and devotion, and the legend of a guardian born beneath the rain began that day. By dawn, voices echoed through the forest, human voices. The rescue team had finally arrived. Hearts pounding in fear, they spotted the gorilla first. Towering and still, the child stirred in his lap. Blinking at the sudden noise, he looked down at her, then toward the trees. He knew it was time. The rescuers crept closer, nets and tranquilizers in hand. But what they saw stopped them cold. The gorilla gently lifted the baby, setting her on the grass. He nudged her forward with the back of his hand softly. She looked back, confused, not wanting to leave him. He stayed kneeling, watching, breathing heavily but calm. When a rescuer approached, the gorilla did not roar. He simply looked, eyes deep, ancient, full of meaning. One moment of perfect understanding passed between them. Then, slowly, he stepped back. The baby waved a tiny hand in the vast green silence. He blinked, lowered his head, and turned away. The jungle swallowed his dark figure once more. The rescuers carried the baby out in tears. Behind them, thunder rolled, but not in anger. In farewell, that day, the world saw something beyond science or instinct, a creature who proved that love needs no language, only a heart big enough to protect the smallest soul. News spread faster than the morning light across the forest. Helicopters hovered above, cameras flashing from afar. Reporters whispered no one could believe what they saw. A gorilla, feared for strength, had protected, hearts trembling in awe. The video showed her tiny pink jacket under his shadow. Every frame told a story words could never hold. Some cried, others prayed, some simply watched in silence. For once, the world saw compassion in a place it never looked. Scientists argued, was it instinct? Was it empathy? But mothers watching knew it was love, pure and unlearned. He could have walked away. He could have hurt. But he stayed. That choice shattered every wall. Between man and beast, children in schools wrote letters, calling him a hero. Artists painted his image beside angels and saints. Even the harshest hearts softened at the sight, for in his eyes there was no wildness, only wonder. The jungle had taught what humanity often forgets, that love does not need language or law to exist, that kindness can live in the unlikeliest of souls. The forest was no longer just green, it was holy. People prayed for the gorilla they once feared. The baby slept safely, but he lived forever in hearts, and the silence of that forest became the voice of the world. Years passed, and the baby became a girl with kind eyes. She would sit by her window, drawing pictures of the forest every night. She dreamed of a shadow shaped like comfort. Her mother told her stories of that day, the rescue, the bond. But deep down, she remembered the warmth, not the fear. The way the gorilla's chest rose like a heartbeat, the sound of his quiet breath. Sometimes she'd press her hand to glass and whisper, "Thank you." Reporters wanted her story, but she spoke little of fame. Instead, she wrote in a journal, words meant for him, "Dear giant, I hope you are safe where trees still sing." She grew with a heart full of compassion and calm strength. At shelters, she helped lost animals find new homes. She said she felt their fear because she once was them. When people asked why she cared so deeply, she smiled softly, "Because once, someone without words showed me love." Her life became a tribute to that unspoken miracle. The child had learned what many grown hearts never do, that love once given never disappears. It lives on quietly, in every act of kindness, in every tear wiped away. She often returned to that forest, now a sanctuary of peace there. The trees still whispered of the day fate changed, and in the hush of dawn, she swore she could still feel him, watching, protecting, smiling through the mist, her silent guardian from a world beyond fear. Decades later, a grown woman walked through that same forest. The paths were overgrown, the air heavy with memory. Her steps slowed near the old clearing where sunlight once fell, and there, unbelievably, a shape moved among the trees. Older, slower, silver on his fur, but unmistakable. The gorilla turned, eyes meeting hers once again. Time itself seemed to stop, holding its breath for them. Tears welled in her eyes, her hands trembling in disbelief. She whispered his name, the one she gave him as a child. He blinked slowly, a deep sound rumbling from his chest. No fear, no distance, only recognition. He stepped closer, every motion heavy with years and care. She dropped to her knees, overwhelmed by emotion. The forest around them shimmered with light and silence. She reached out, just as she once did long ago. Her fingers brushed his rough hand once more. Two souls reunited, not by blood, but by memory eternal. He made a low, gentle sound, part sigh, part song. She laughed through tears, heartbreaking and healing at once. He looked at her one last time, eyes soft with peace, then turned toward the forest, walking into golden light. No cameras, no noise, just the truth of love remembered. The woman sat there, whispering prayers of gratitude. Some bonds never end, they only change form, And in that forest, love lived again, quiet and infinite. When the world saw that moment, a wild gorilla cradling a helpless child, hearts trembled, and humanity paused to reflect. The ones we fear the most are the ones who carry the purest compassion. That gorilla didn't see color, class, or species, only a fragile life that needed love in her gentle hands. We saw the truth we keep forgetting. Kindness is instinctive, not learned. Nature, so often labeled as cruel, reminded us of its sacred balance: to protect, not destroy. The child survived because love has no language, no boundaries, no reason, even in silence. The gorilla's actions spoke louder than all of humanity's noise. It wasn't just an act of mercy. It was a mirror held up to our own hearts. Would we have done the same? Without hesitation, without judgment. This story teaches us that compassion is the highest form of strength, and that even in the wildest of hearts, the divine spark of empathy lives on. We build walls, cages, and fears, but nature keeps breaking them with grace. That day, the gorilla didn't just save a life, she saved our faith in goodness. She reminded us that innocence recognizes innocence, no matter the form. In a world obsessed with power, her gentleness became a symbol of courage. True humanity isn't measured by our progress, but by our compassion. The moment the child opened their eyes, it wasn't just survival, it was rebirth. Love, in its purest form, came from where we least expected it. And perhaps that's the greatest miracle of all, that even beasts can be more human than we are. So let this story echo forever. Where love lives, fear dies, and hope is reborn.